It was just another cold Tuesday morning on Jefferson Street, and the hum of traffic was barely audible under the thick hush of falling snow. People hurried past with collars turned up and hands buried deep in pockets, too focused on staying warm to notice the man sitting motionless on the corner bench. His coat was torn, his hands cracked from the wind, and his beard had grown wild and unkempt over the months. He was invisible. That is, until Eli, the local barber, walked out of his shop with a broom and a heart too big for his own good. Eli didn't just cut hair, he listened. He had the kind of quiet strength that drew people in, and though his shop was small and barely making ends meet, he never turned away someone in need. But today was different. Today, he saw the man shivering, face buried in his arms, and without a second thought, he walked up to him. "Hey, buddy," Eli said gently, tapping his shoulder. "You hungry? Cold?" The man looked up slowly. His name was James. His eyes were sunken, tired, but still held a flicker of dignity. "I'm fine," he mumbled, though his teeth were chattering. "Come inside," Eli offered. "Let me clean you up." "On the house." James hesitated. Pride was a strange thing, it clung even when a man had nothing left. But something in Eli's voice, warm and genuine, made him nod. Inside, the shop smelled of sandalwood and talcum. Old jazz played softly in the background. Eli sat James in the chair, wrapped a cape around him, and began his work. As clumps of tangled hair fell to the floor, James started to speak. About how he once had a job at the shipyard. About how he lost his wife to cancer. How the medical bills buried him, and grief finally took what little was left. Eli didn't say much. He just listened. By the time the haircut was done, James barely recognized himself in the mirror. His beard was trimmed, hair neat, and his tired face seemed human again. Just then, the jingle of the shop door rang. In walked Mayor Daniel Whitmore, surrounded by 2 aides and a man with a clipboard. He was scheduled for a quick PR visit to small businesses hit hard by the winter season. But the moment he stepped in and saw James in the barber chair, something shifted in the air. Eli, slightly flustered, straightened up. "Mr. Mayor, welcome. I didn't expect." The mayor interrupted, eyes locked on James. Is this James Riley?" James looked startled. The mayor walked closer. "James, it's me. Dan Whitmore. We played on the same baseball team in high school. You were our pitcher. You had a mean curveball, man." James blinked. The memory, long buried under hardship, came back like a flash of summer in the dead of winter. "Dan?" The mayor sat in the chair next to him. "I heard you disappeared after Linda passed. We all looked for you." James bowed his head. "I lost everything, Dan. I didn't want anyone to see me like that." There was a silence in the room. Not uncomfortable. Just full of emotion too big for words. Mayor Whitmore turned to Eli. "You gave him a free haircut?" Eli nodded. "It was nothing, sir. Just a haircut." The mayor stood. "No, it was more than that. You gave him his dignity back. What happened next changed everything." The mayor returned 2 days later, not with aides, but with reporters and community leaders. He announced a new city initiative called the Second Chance Project, a program to provide grooming, temporary shelter, and job placement assistance for the homeless population, inspired by one act of kindness at Eli's barbershop. James became the face of the program. He began speaking at shelters and churches, telling his story, reminding people that homelessness isn't a crime, it's often a series of unfortunate events that can happen to anyone. And that hope, sometimes, comes in the form of a pair of scissors and a kind stranger. Eli's shop, once quiet and struggling, became a local landmark. Customers poured in not just for cuts, but to be part of something bigger. People started donating money, supplies, winter coats. A small corner of Jefferson Street became a hub of hope. But challenges remained. Eli faced pressure. His landlord threatened rent increases when foot traffic grew. Some neighbors complained about the wrong kind of people showing up. There were moments he doubted himself, wondered if he should have just kept sweeping the sidewalk that morning instead of getting involved. James, too, struggled. The transition wasn't easy. After years on the street, routines were hard to build. Some nights he wanted to give up, crawl back into the dark corner of the world that had grown familiar. But each time he looked in the mirror and saw the man Eli helped him find again, he kept going. The biggest test came one night when a local business filed a complaint against Eli's shop, citing loitering concerns. A hearing was scheduled. The city could shut down his barber shop. The morning of the hearing, Eli showed up in his best coat, nerves high. But when he walked into City Hall, he found the room filled with people, residents, churchgoers, shelter volunteers, and James, all standing in support. They told their stories. Of how Eli had helped them. Of how the neighborhood had changed for the better. Of how one man with scissors and heart had done more for the community than most ever tried. The case was dismissed. Not only was Eli allowed to keep operating, he was awarded a grant by the city to expand. By winter's end, James had a job working at the shelter. He shaved every morning, ironed his shirts, and walked with a confidence that seemed impossible just months ago. He passed by Eli's shop often, always waving through the glass. And Eli? He never charged another homeless person for a haircut again. The story of Eli and James became more than just a local tale. It became a reminder that compassion doesn't need a budget, kindness costs nothing, and sometimes, the smallest gestures can spark the biggest changes. And it all began with a free haircut.